Tonight, a beloved music venue in Des Moines is receiving new life. Local 5's Brandon Wynn joins us in studio to share how Lefties is getting a facelift and renewed interest from the community. Brandon.
Alex, that's right. For a decade, Lefties wasn't just another music venue, it was a community. And now one member of that community is trying to recapture that magic.
Jerry Sparger is the new owner of Strychnine, but for most its history, Des Moines has known it as Lefties.
We're not losing anything from the past. We're building a new future.
Sparger knows all about Lefties' storied history. As a musician himself, he's graced that stage more than once.
Lefties was family-oriented. I mean, the owners, Eric and Ann, were longtime members of the Des Moines music scene, great people, made everybody feel like they were at home.
Feeling at home. Sparger continued saying how when Lefties closed last year, many musicians felt that loss.
And there's other places to play, obviously, but the historical value of this building and what it means to the music community is bigger than that.
The hope is to revamp the interior while still paying respect to its legacy, but Sparger isn't worried about getting the word out.
Oh, they'll come back. I don't even have to tell them. They'll be back here because this is home. This is home. Yeah, we all know it.
Lefties wasn't the only closure for live music lovers in Des Moines since COVID. Gaslamp, Vaudeville Muse, and the 8035 Music Festival also receiving a similar fate. Yet Sparger feels that Lefties, above them all, was worth saving.
This was a dream come true for a lot of people in the music industry that got their start here. A lot of history was made right here on this stage. A lot of history.
And Sparger said he hopes to have all the renovations completed by August of this year so that the music can ring from the storied stage once again. Alex.
3 days after flooding forced dozens of families from their homes, many are now facing the long road to recovery. Local 5's JD Snover is live on the east side of Des Moines with more on how you can help. JD.
Yeah, Alex, the visible evidence of what happened on Friday is starting to fade, at least from the roadside perspective, right? All of this was flooded at one point. It's since dried out, which is, of course, good news. But for many families, especially those on the first floor of these apartments here on the east side, those challenges are going to remain for quite a while.
4 Mile Creek has receded back into its banks, and the water that once covered nearby Sargent Park has mostly disappeared. But for residents at Parkside East Apartments,
a lot of those apartments were destroyed, the foundational layer, I guess you could say.
Impacts of last week's flooding have not yet washed away. In total, 144 families were displaced, according to property management. 32 of those families are being told they won't be able to return to their homes.
The Des Moines community always comes together in these moments.
Now local organizations are stepping in to help residents begin the long recovery process. Impact Community Action Partnership has already started collecting donations that will go directly to affected families.
In a disaster like this, where most of the people impacted have very limited incomes, there aren't a lot of avenues for them to replace what they've lost.
Longer-term assistance will still be on the way.
The governor will do a disaster proclamation, which will activate their disaster assistance program.
But for many families, the need is immediate.
People can't wait. So our assistance is very fast and very rapid.
While some residents are staying at the American Red Cross shelter at Hoyt Middle School, donated funds can help cover a wide range of urgent expenses.
Whether it is housing, furniture, clothing, this helps them with those immediate needs.
So the floodwaters may be gone, but for dozens of families here, recovery is only just beginning.
So Impact says anyone who would like to donate, they can do so at their website. You just have to make sure to leave a comment saying it's specifically for this project here at Parkside East. And Conlon Properties, who owns the property, well, they say they are waiving rent for its first floor tenants, and the due date has been pushed back for others who are going to eventually be able to re-enter their units. But for right now, live on the east side of Des Moines, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
For families displaced by flooding on Des Moines' east side, the cleanup continued today. But as Local 5's JD Snover reports, some say what survived matters more than what was lost.
Home, they say,
shock
is where the heart is.
I know we're luckier than a lot of people.
But what happens when that heart
Property management was going through the parking lot with a bullhorn with sirens saying, you need to go now, water's coming in.
is shattered by floodwaters?
This is everything we have. And, you know, it's gone.
It's the answer Jason Ackerman is searching for.
We had no idea that they had gotten pounded with that much rain, and then that much was coming our way.
Because water doesn't care who or where you are.
It didn't matter what room, all the carpet, everything got soaked.
And the family hadn't even settled in yet.
This was our daughter's bedroom that she was still in the process of living with us, but
An apartment meant for making memories, now filled with reminders.
back in 2018, the last flood they had here, my fiance's son lived here and went through it. So we knew that.
But hearing about a flood and standing in one are two different things.
Being low income, on a housing voucher, having someone with a disability that needs to be on a ground floor, there wasn't a lot of places for us to go.
So they survived the flood, and now they must survive after it.
You're gonna try and take your furniture out and stuff, but it's been sitting in water for days, and you know, and it's not clean. And
Piece by piece and load by load.
most of our stuff was still in tubs, per se. So we're kind of lucky with a lot of like our clothing and stuff.
Mending that heart, because maybe that's what home really is. Not the apartment itself, but the people who remain.
They donated money to that Impact Foundation to try and give first floor families $600, people on second and third floor some money.
And the people who show up to help.
We did get our deposit back, so you know that kind of helps a little bit too.
So that heart can beat once again. In Des Moines, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
We're now hearing from city law enforcement and metro hospitals on the impact that fireworks had over the recent holiday weekend.
From injuries to debris that was left behind in public parks, there are some key differences from last year. And Local 5's Emma Stroner is live here in studio to explain those changes. Emma, what did the city leaders see this year?
Well, the city parks department saw less of a mess left behind from fireworks this past weekend, but police responded to more fireworks-related calls. So in 2025, 12 parks saw debris, while only 5 saw debris in 2026. As for those calls for service, they were up 7% from last year. That's between July 1st and July 5th. Also, though, overall, calls for service in general were up 12%. The Des Moines Police Department says one thing to consider here is that some of those calls were related to flooding that we saw last week. Still, with fireworks-specific calls also up, Sergeant Paul Barizic says it's difficult to pinpoint why they increased, and says they're going to keep raising awareness on the fireworks ordinance.
The fix for that is pretty simple. Just make sure people understand what the ordinance is, make sure that people are being safe and following the law, and then also really thinking about, do I need to do this now? And do I need to do this here? And you know, what are some of the vulnerabilities of my neighborhood?
On the other hand, the Parks Department says they saw less debris because they switched from being more reactive to being more proactive, saying they have more staff volunteering to watch the parks and remind visitors of these rules. They also says it helps to team up with the police department. And we're also hearing from hospitals and the fire department. Unity Point saw 7 fireworks injuries, while Mercy One says it saw 10 minor fireworks injuries. The Des Moines Fire Department responded to 2 structure fires and 12 outdoor fires. Those were all related to fireworks. Joseph.
One case of measles has now been confirmed in Polk County. Health officials say they were notified Tuesday night. Local 5's JD Snover joins us now. JD, health experts say there's no immediate reason for alarm, but they are urging people to take precautions.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Alex. They say to pay attention to it, but don't overthink it at this point, just one singular case. This is an adult vaccinated male who likely contracted the virus during recent international travels. Officials have identified 10 potential exposure locations throughout central Iowa in Des Moines and Webster City. You can find the full list on our website. Doctors say measles symptoms typically take 1 to 2 weeks to appear, meaning some people who could have been exposed may not know it yet. They also stress it's never too late to check your vaccination status. This is the second confirmed measles case in Polk County in the last 2 years.
We are more concerned about how rapidly it can spread throughout the community and the potential consequences it can have, which could be ranging from pneumonia to a brain infection. and also has a tendency to weaken your immune system, making you prone to other infections down the line. So as you can imagine, from a healthcare perspective, it can be quite a challenge.
So officials say the biggest concern will come later this summer when students return to the classroom, especially as Iowa's statewide vaccination rate has fallen to about 85%. That's below herd immunity. So if you believe you may have been exposed, health officials recommend calling your doctor before seeking care so providers can take steps to prevent further spread in a situation like a waiting room. Alex?
The city of Reynolds tried to fill 2 vacant city council positions in a special election yesterday, but the city reached a snag. Local 5's Brandon Wynn shares how the election took an unexpected turn.
What if your city council election was decided just like this? For the people of Runnels, that might be the case.
2 vacancies on the Runnels City Council led to a special election with a surprising turnout.
We had one person running for a 4-year term, and they received 37 votes. We had 43 write-in votes, and one candidate got 37 votes as well.
Polk County Auditor and Commissioner of Elections Jamie Fitzgerald explained that although Corey Walker Zepeda ran unopposed in one of the city council seats, he's now facing a tie in votes with write-in candidate Jake Dingman.
How that's decided in Iowa Code 50.44, it goes to the Board of Canvassers, which is our Board of Supervisors, and they will pick a name out of a hat.
50-50. Despite no declaration of candidacy, Dingman may be the next Runnels City Councilman if the odds are in his favor and he chooses to accept the position. For those feeling this is undemocratic, Fitzgerald says,
"This is that one voter that doesn't come in and vote, the one voter that waited too long to get out and make their voice heard, that didn't ask for the absentee ballot. This would have alleviated all of that."
Dingman served a previous term as councilman and resigned in 2025. Both Dingman and Walker Zepeda declined to comment. But it's not the only surprising result from yesterday. No one ran for an open 2-year city council seat, but Jay McCrea won with 37 write-in votes to 23 separate write-ins.
We'll try to contact him to let him know that he has, potentially been elected, and then there's a process if he doesn't want to serve that he'll have to go through the city of Runnels.
Should McCrea not want the position, a new special election could be called to fill the role.
Now, the Polk County Board of Supervisors is set to pull that name from the box on Tuesday, July 14th. If the person were to accept the position, they would be the next 4-year councilman in Runnels. In Runnels, Brandon Wynn, Local 5 News.
The city of Des Moines held a public meeting to address a shortfall in the 2028 budget. The meeting looked to get feedback on that budget. Local 5's Brandon Wynn was at the meeting to hear what residents are most concerned about.
The city of Des Moines is facing a $12 to $17 million shortfall. Today, the community met to discuss that dilemma.
The meeting for Des Moines' budget held a lot of emotions, both high.
Maybe it'd be a good idea if some of our suburbs actually put some money into this because they're sending people through these services.
And low.
Lastly, or more severely, close a smaller neighborhood branch.
The meeting looked to get feedback on the 2028 fiscal year budget, which currently is looking at a $12 million shortfall. City Manager Scott Sanders mixed a presentation on potential areas that could see cuts and taking public feedback.
If folks in the crowd have a question for you, do you think this is enough public input for our budget?
No. The city encouraged everybody to participate in their interactive online budget to share where the public would like to see cuts.
It's good to know where we have advocacy, and please don't touch this or don't touch that. It's helpful to know. But what we really need to know now in this cycle is what are you willing to cut to not touch certain things.
City department heads were also available to take questions one-on-one after the meeting. The libraries were referred to numerous times as a key area citizens did not want to see cuts.
That's why I personally am against closing a library, because that would be very hard to undo.
The meeting's effectiveness?
What an amazing turnout. And even though we all have such differing opinions because we have such different ways of looking at the world and the life, I hope we can continue to work together.
Also came with mixed opinions.
Oh, I'm wasting time, but your whole hour wasn't wasting time. Got it. Got it.
The next meeting will be held after the August 26th deadline to make the first round of cuts. In Des Moines, Brandon Wynn, Local 5 News.
The death toll in those Venezuela earthquakes has now climbed to just over 3,800.
More than 16,000 are hurt and thousands are still unaccounted for. Local 5's Emma Stroner is in studio to share the feelings of two Iowans who are from Venezuela. Emma, how are they navigating these devastating impacts?
Well, it's very hard on them both because they both wish they could physically be there to help pick up the rubble and find missing Venezuelans. However, they are doing everything they can back here because they say every bit of help counts.
Maria Rodriguez and Estefany Figueroa both live in the U.S.
I've been living in Des Moines for about 5 years since now. I actually moved here to Iowa in 2018.
But they call Venezuela their home.
I was born in Caracas, but I grew up in a little town called San Juan de los Morros. I was born and raised there. It's just a part of me will always be in Venezuela.
That means when people are struggling in that home, they want to come back to it.
I just want to be able to be there and physically be able to help. We're also talking about Venezuela, a country that has gone through so much through the past few years. I cannot be there right now, but I wish I can be there.
Over 3,800 killed, over 16,000 hurt, and thousands still unaccounted for. The twin earthquakes flipped everything upside down for people in Venezuela. Those who, as Stephanie and Maria, wish they could be right beside.
Venezuela wasn't ready for this. Even if I am helping like with donations, sharing news or something, you feel like it's never enough.
But they both love their homes so much that they'll do anything they can, even if they're by their side in different ways.
If we saw somebody who is missing, we try to share in all our social media platforms, because when you think it's not helpful, it will be helpful if somebody there is trying to find their family members and they saw like a story.
Because home is home, even under a different roof.
I'll always be there for my country, even outside or inside.
And if you want to help, you can find a trusted organization that is working on the ground, like the Red Cross, to donate to, and make sure you check your money that it's going directly to emergency response. You can also share verified information with others to help spread the word and get others to assist. Dana.